with his team down by 2 to the corner. Caputo! No good! And it's over! St. Louis is going dancing. An unlikely run. Tying his career high. Victory was held. And here they come. The student section storms the court at St. Louis. Possession game. Mitchell. Cassidy. Ellis.
Got to get a shot off. It's got to be a three.
Ellis. Mitchell for the tie. Got it!
Runner off the glass, no. Tip battle loose. Evans is absolutely decked by Gant. Evans stays in the game.
Speaking of leveling,
Conklin leveled Wilcox, and he's down for the count. Driving Evans for Conklin layup. Good whistle foul. Count the basket. You want to play rough? You want to play rough? Let's play.
Assume they're not going to foul you. Just take it right to the rim. Goodwin, 2 for the tie, 3 for the win. Goodwin takes it in, and he got it. We're tied. Overtime. Here we come.
Welcome to the House that Rick Built podcast with your hosts, Collin Kessler and Zach Miller. This show is sponsored by Mortgage Partners Group, where mortgage solutions are made simple.
Timeout on the floor. 68-46 St. Louis. This is Billiken basketball.
Welcome back to the House that Rick Built podcast, brought to you by Mortgage Partners Group, where mortgage solutions are made simple. Give Jason a call at 314-422-0649. Back with episode number 79. I'm your host, as always, Collin Kessler, joined as usual by Zach Miller. Zach, how are you doing?
I am doing all right. I got a new job, and unfortunately they sent me a desktop computer because apparently it is 2005 and this thing doesn't have Wi-Fi. So I'm back in my my basement office. I had to move everything.
Doesn't have Wi-Fi? Is that what you just said?
Yep, does not have Wi-Fi.
How does that work out? How does a computer not have Wi-Fi?
I could not tell you. I
Was
tried
it a Mac 2 or an Apple II?
It's a Macintosh, the original.
Yeah, right, Lisa. I've watched the Jobs movie too many times, obviously. Well, it's been a while, obviously, since we've done a podcast. It's been a few weeks at least.
Yeah.
It's been a long summer. If you're paying attention to anything, it's also been stressful of late for sports. Obviously, if you watch the St. Louis Cardinals on the day of recording this, they just went down with, 2 positive tests, I think? Yeah.
Both pitchers, apparently.
Yeah, I didn't hear that, so there's news for me. So a little bit of a stressful time, but exciting.
It's hard to find that zest to podcast right now. I mean, you're in the dog days of summer, and even though we're not, a lot of things aren't open, it's easy to go outside and get lost in your own BS and not find the time to sit down and talk.
Well, and the other thing is, with this podcast specifically being around sports, there's just a lot of uncertainty with that right now in college athletics, and we'll get into all of it further on throughout the episode, but I would say, Zach, it's all speculation at this point about what we're expecting to see this year. I mean, they put out the conference pairings. Again, we'll talk about that later in the episode. But there's always that chance that we don't even get to see that. And that's where we're sitting at right now. There's nothing to hold your hat on. There's no certainty in anything. And it's stressful and it's frustrating. But at the same time, you kind of have to understand it, especially, again, like I said, when you see what's happening in St. Louis right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's uncertainty across the board, whether it's scientifically, medically, athletically, it's all uncertain. And I know it's probably stressful on Travis Ford, especially. It's stressful on Chris May and stressful on Billiken fans in general.
Yeah.
And the rest of the coaching staffs across all sports.
Now, obviously, what we're talking about here I guess we can safely say is first world problems because we're complaining about not having sports when there are people that are still getting this and
Well,
being sick. So I'm not trying to sound
sure.
callous about it, but
But it's also, you got to remember that this is people's jobs and
no,
people's
I get it.
future
Yeah.
on the line too. So, I mean, even
And
though it
we've
is
seen a lot of athletics departments get cut, or not athletic departments, but sports get cut
sure,
throughout this.
but I mean, and you got to remember, even though that, like, this is Jordan Goodwin's future, this is Hassan French's future.
Right.
This is how Chris May feeds his family. This is how Travis Ford makes his living. This is, soccer on down the line, and down to even the lowest, the tennis coach, the field hockey coach. This is how these people live. And I mean, without their job and without, scholarship, it's just, it's mind blowing. It's tough, man. It's scary.
It is. It is. No, it is. It's very scary. It's a very uncertain time. But let's not get too caught up in that. Let's talk about something that's a little bit more positive in this. And I told you before we got on here, I'm very shocked to hear this. I'm very shocked to see this personally. Albeit very excited and happy to see this and very appreciative of seeing this kind of talk about the Billikens. But per CBSSports.com, I believe the author of this was Gary Parrish. Let me get the quote. I'm in the article. Here we go. Travis Ford's Billikens are now the obvious favorites in the Atlantic 10, and yes, talented and experienced enough to maybe, just maybe, march all the way to the Final Four. So in the midst of this uncertainty and really not knowing what's going to happen come basketball season, it seems like right off the bat, the Billikens might be a favorite in a condensed season with as much experience and the style of play that they work on. You don't have to have the rhythm of a highly structured offense. You don't have to have, guys that have been shooting all season and are ready to go. That's not what you need. When you have the Billikens, you play bully ball and you can outmuscle people, and they're probably the most ready to go when the season starts, if the season does start.
Yeah, because they're the most experienced.
Right.
At the end of the day, you've got practices that are going to be put on hold, and we're speculating here, but if the practices get stopped, you can't get people on campus. Remember, we have guys that are all pretty local and all that are, have played together for 3 years. So these are guys that get along and, they've played together in high school. You got Terrence Hargrove and Yuri Collins who have played together. Yuri Collins had a full year running the point. So the experience is what I think is the most important. I think second most would be that style of play because, again, it's not reliant on crisp ball movement all the time. I mean, obviously it's nice to have when we do have it, but it's more reliant on kind of effort.
Yeah. I think a lot of it too comes down to just decision-making by individual players on the court. I mean, you brought up Yuri Collins. Half the time when the offense is flowing right, it's because Yuri's just making good passes in the flow of whatever offense they are trying to run and finds the open spots where they can be found. But this also gets into an interesting conversation that I've been wanting to bring up on this podcast, but obviously we haven't done it for a little bit. But, and not to be too much of a Debbie Downer, because I'm sure that this is going to go in a Debbie Downer direction about this, but there's just there's no way around it. Looking at baseball right now and the fact that baseball is the only sport that did not go into a bubble, it would stand to reason, I suppose, in a very small sample size, that the bubble is the thing that works and that helps keep players the safest. With that being said, you would think that college basketball would love to have an environment in which they can put all the college basketball players and the coaching staff and all the personnel involved in the team in some sort of a bubble to contain them and ensure that they're going to be safe. Is that going to be possible with college basketball players? I don't think so. And is that going to be something that causes a serious problem for this season?
Yeah, I think it does. I don't exactly know what the opportunity is. I mean, I guess the conferences could do their individual bubbles.
Right.
I don't see college football playing at all. There's no freaking way. I've had this conversation 100 times.
I don't know that you'll see any fall sports play, period.
The travel parties are just ridiculously large.
Yeah.
There is the USL is the only pro sport in North America that has not gone into a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about the Liga MX. I don't know about that. Obviously, that's North America too. But
Didn't
I
even know
mean,
that existed. So
Liga MX is the Mexican Pro Soccer League.
yeah, that's right.
But USL Pro is the league under the MLS, and they didn't go into a bubble. Obviously, STLFC is playing. They've had fans in their stands, but again, it's an outdoor sport. It's a little different.
Yeah,
But travel parties are probably comparable to men's basketball. It's just I don't know. I think I actually honestly think the mid-major conferences that rely so heavily on geography, like I don't know, your Missouri Valley conferences, actually have a good chance to play. Like those are probably the conferences that are probably the least affected because you can bus, because you can it's not too far of a travel. You can go up and back in one day,
yeah,
not stay in a hotel, not put your guys in any sort of risk. It all depends on how committed the players are on your teams.
yeah.
I mean, look at the way the TBT, the basketball tournament, and how committed that was. You need that level of commitment and even higher if you're not going into a bubble.
So, but I wonder, the other thing that I feel like is going to play a factor in this is going to be obviously the education of these players, right? And if schools opt to have in-person camp or in-person class on campus in the fall, that would likely put a lot of players at a higher level of risk. Is there any way to, again, put players in some form of a bubble while still allowing them to go to class and get the same level of education that people that are going to in-person class? I mean, these are the complications you're talking about right now. There's a lot going on there. I mean,
Yeah,
there's so many levels to making this happen, and it just gets by the day grimmer and grimmer, I feel like.
yeah. I think what colleges should be doing is offering, broadcasted classes on Zoom,
Yeah.
and you can either attend in person or not. And I think all athletes that are playing would be not allowed to attend classes.
I mean, you would
Um,
think that would make the most sense, not sending
yeah,
athletes to classes
yeah,
just.
they would. I mean, you got to remember you've
And I
got
mean, for both parties too, not just for the athletes, but for the students who would be attending those classes. Let's say, the basketball team goes and plays in Duquesne, just to mess with Duquesne here, and someone gets it playing them, comes back, goes to class, and then gives it to the entire class. I don't know. You would like to think there are protocols that would be in place to stop that, but as we've seen with baseball, there are protocols in place, and yet people are still getting COVID-19. So, you know, the unfortunate thing is I feel like baseball is just poking so many holes in this season because it's not even by making it impossible on its own, but it's just by adding that level of fear that people say, you know what, is it worth the risk? Look what's happening in baseball. And,
the doomers.
there's a
If you
lot of
will.
uncertainty. Yeah, right. There's a lot of uncertainty and you can't say for sure. So, and it's also a thing too where I feel like college basketball players don't have as much pull or as much say in whether or not they play or don't play like professional athletes have had in all these proceedings to get these professional sports leagues going. So I don't know. I would be really shocked. I still think I can't see any way that they play
It's yeah, and
as
I
much
don't.
as I would like to.
Yeah, no, I'm rooting. Okay, I don't want to. I don't want anybody on this that listens to this podcast to look at us and say these guys are rooting against the basketball season.
No, yeah,
My God, I
no,
need this basketball
want
season.
it.
I need
I would
it
love for nothing more than to see this team play.
absolutely, but it's just it's not scary to me in that someone could get sick and die. It's scary to me in that I just can't see the path for basketball.
No, it look like I said. I feel like every day there's just a new piece of information that just you look at, you go, well,
And I think that's part of what causes people to kind of take this less seriously almost
yeah,
is that you get a new piece of information each day and you're like, okay, of course it's that.
right.
Of course, of course, yeah, right. Okay. Like we're going to add this now. Right. Like it's just crazy how more they add each day to to these.
Yeah, it's a lot of unknowns. It's a lot of unknowns. It's a lot of uncertainty, and there's really no, set way to handle this in terms of a vaccine or something that's very certain. It's all, wash your hands, do preventative steps to hopefully not get it.
Which
And
is, I mean,
a lot of it should be common sense anyway, but
sure.
not to, this is probably veered far too deep into a territory that we don't want to go. And the irony here is that this started off with me saying that we were projected by somebody to maybe potentially go to the Final Four. So that should have been a bright and cheery subject. And here we are once again. This is the state of America in 2020.
It's a state of the world.
Right. No, state of the world. Absolutely.
I mean, dude, the world should not be celebrating
No.
the low levels of COVID, because it's not going to go away until there's a vaccine. So you guys can just, I mean, it's just not.
It's tense times of uncertainty.
Yeah.
And baseball it's helping nothing at all. I mean, it's just whatever. Looking through what we've missed since the last time we recorded, one of the things that we've recently put out, I think actually the last thing we put out was not a podcast. It was the game rewatch with Zach and Justin Love. Justin, who unfortunately passed away not long after the recording of that. I don't know how much there is that needs to be said on this or that doesn't need to be said. Obviously when that happened, it was shocking. It was unbelievable. It's terribly sad. I had the good fortune to meet Justin in the fall by happenstance of writing at the Muscuda newspaper. And I talked to him a few times, ran into him, what have you. But outside of that, what everyone says about him. What you saw him do at St. Louis University. I feel like every picture you see of him, he's got the biggest smile in the world. And it was just a very sad day. And our condolences go out to his family. And it was awesome. I need to add this in there. It was awesome of the Muscuda community that sold the Love Strong shirts and raised all that money for Justin Love's family. That was really awesome to see. So just shout out to Muscuda for doing that. That was incredible.
Yeah, it was surreal. You talk to someone, 2 weeks and do this big thing and get to rewatch an important part of their life and talk about, how they're forever linked with a guy like Kenyon Martin, and just by happenstance of running into each other's knees. And then, he said it was the first time he'd rewatched that game and probably since it happened. And then he goes and passes away. And I mean, you go back and watch that seriously, because the whole time I'm trying to get him to talk about himself, and he is just pumping the tires of every other player on that team. Troy Robertson was the leader on that team. John Redden, man, he just really he was awesome in the tournament. He was fantastic. Just all just effusive praise of his teammates and just completely deflecting it off himself.
Yeah, there were there were some good interviews I found with Justin when I was searching around, and I'm going to post a couple of those up on our Twitter account. One of them was him talking about his experience playing overseas, which I thought was very interesting. That's a very manageable one. I think it's like 16 minutes or something like that. There's another one that was done while he was overseas. That one has someone doing voiceovers in a foreign language, so it does get a little confusing to listen to. But regardless, I'm going to put both of those up on the Twitter page. So make sure you go watch the game, rewatch that Zach did with him, as well as listening to those two interviews. I think they're very insightful, and I think that they it's just nice to reminisce on those. Yeah. It's a sad thing to see, a very sad thing to see. Moving on to something a little bit lighter, something a little bit more, and I say lighter, we'll try to make this lighter, but somehow we're going to get back into talking about how basketball is not going to happen in the spring or in the winter. The first workout to happen. Players arrived on campus, I believe, a week ago from recording this probably thereabouts. It was interesting, to say the least. Seeing some of the pictures out of practice, I think it's about what you would expect it to be. I'll be honest with you, Zach. One of the things I was really confused about when I saw the first pictures from practice, they put everyone's stuff at chairs that I would assume were about 6 feet apart, if I had to believe that that's what they're doing there. And then they went and played on the court, and they were scrimmaging like against each other, like full contact, no masks. So I'm wondering.
Dude, do you really want to get into what?
Not really. I'm just wondering what the logic is in that situation.
It's the same logic that has the Premier League players sitting 6 feet apart. It's the same logic that these NBA guys in the bubble are sitting 6 feet apart on the bench and then going out. It's all. I guess it's one of two things. It's either attempting to minimize the risk when trying to minimize the impact when you can, or it's just
Is
lip
it for
service.
looks? Yeah,
yes.
Is it for looks? Because that's what I did wonder that. But I felt like there was no way. Like I shouldn't say there's no way, but I felt like that would almost have to be a requirement by the NCAA in order to like hold team workouts and stuff, would be to follow certain guidelines. So I wondered if that was just kind of the instruction that everyone been given, but I didn't do any research on that. So clearly I came prepared for this podcast, as we always do. Very ready to talk this evening. But apart from that, everything you saw was about what you expected. Again, the 6 feet apart, team equipment stuff, the masks with coaches and stuff of that nature. Obviously, Travis Ford pulls the mask down, talks to the players, puts it back up, runs down the court, whatever. It's exactly what you expect it to be. And you know what? If that's what it's got to be, then that's what it's got to be. Like, do what we got to do. No complaints about it. It looked like practice was competitive. It looked, I say competitive, it looked like it was going up and down with reasonable pace, and like they were actually getting after it a little bit. And it wasn't just, oh, I can't touch you. Oh, I can't, I can't put my hands on you. I can't be this close to you. Like, no one was paranoid about it. It didn't look like it. Just looked it looked like real life for a second.
Yeah, let's be honest here. We've all seen pictures. We've all seen, videos where these guys have been playing.
Yeah.
These guys have been out playing in open gyms and
they're ready to go
and whatnot. So, it's not like, I don't want to say nobody's taking this seriously this summer with, sports. But again, it doesn't surprise me that there wasn't any sort of serious
wag or
no. I'm talking about the distancing, I guess, if you will. There wasn't any structure that was like, we've got to not. Oh,
you mean the paranoia of players?
Yeah.
Well, you're right. I guess that would make sense. And at the end of the day, I think if you're one of those guys and you love playing basketball and you get on the court with someone, there's a certain amount of just natural, like, that's what you're going to do. Like, you're going to go out there and play. If you're Jimmy Belt Jr. and you see a ball kick off the rim, you're going to go grab it. You're going to knock anyone out of the way that you have to get there. And there's contact and you're, whatever. Again, these are all the things that, are going to put basketball at jeopardy to some degree, because it's just going to be, one more thing for someone to say that's the reason we can't play. And you can't necessarily say that they're right or wrong, I suppose. I guess people will say they can say they're right or wrong, but that's not a conversation I want to get into. The point of the matter is, it's all going to be in the best interest of what keeps people safe. And right now, again, why do we keep going this way? I hate this podcast right now. I actually am like physically sad doing this podcast. And the next one doesn't get any better. Because fall sports in the A-10 were postponed. That was 3 weeks ago from the recording of this. It's been very recently. And the commissioner of the A-10 also, I believe, if I remember correctly, Zach, spoke on winter sports and said that was kind of 50-50 when she was talking then.
I still don't understand why they didn't go to my pod situation where they just split up the country into geographical. Never mind.
I just really, I don't know. Here's a question I'll pose, and maybe this is a dumb question, but how much do you mangle and twist and turn this season until you go, you know what, this is so different and so just not like even worth it? At what point do you hit that and say maybe we should just call it and understand that it's just not going to happen, no matter how much we want it, no matter how much we think it makes sense, it's just not going to happen? What is that point?
If you can't find a way to play 20 games in conference after January 1, then I call it a day.
Yeah. I think this is going to be interesting because, as we know, and this is going to be I think maybe the hardest season the Billikens will ever have. Well, okay, that's an overstatement probably, but one of the hardest seasons that they will ever have. And that's simply because the A10, as we talk about every year, cannibalizes itself.
Yeah.
And now the A10 is the only way for us to qualify for any sort of postseason contention.
No, what'll happen is they will arrive at a number for each conference. It will not be based on it will be like the Champions League for all the countries in Europe. Conferences will be allocated X number of bids at the NCAA tournament. But what I wanted to say is that Billiken fans have to be feeling like they've been kicked in the nuts for the third straight time. When you have a team that's ready to turn a corner, something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Billy Reed and Kwame Mitchell. Then the second or third year of Travis Ford.
Yeah.
You have the suspensions now a pandemic.
I just don't.
You've got to be freaking kidding me.
The thing that makes that particular one easier for me is the fact that we watched our friends Sully and Blackburn have to watch probably the greatest Dayton team of all time, maybe, if I'm not overstating that, miss out on any chance to play in the postseason.
Eat it, Sully.
It definitely could be a lot worse. But I understand what you're saying. The other thing that you can add into this conversation, which this is now just turned into the COVID-19 podcast. We're not even in the house that Rick built anymore.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, guys. I
mean, this is the thing, though. We would like to talk basketball, but it's so hard to talk basketball when you just don't know. I promise you, you know what? I will promise you the last segment we do will be basketball because we're just going to break down the pairings. So maybe if you want to fast forward to that, I don't know, because there's going to be so much COVID talk in here. Last two segments, I'm sorry.
Anybody texts me and asks me about anything coronavirus related, I tell them I don't talk about coronavirus.
Yeah,
and yet here I sit on the podcast talking about coronavirus. I hate this topic.
Well, but you know, the thing is,
I have no choice.
You also have to add on to everything that you say. Well, the Billikens will be really good this year if there's a season. The Billikens will win the A10 this year if you have conference basketball.
Sign up for that SLU vaccine trial, everybody.
There you go. I mean, maybe we make something happen. I mean, it stinks. And you know, the positive side of you could say right now there is a conference schedule that has been released, right? There's conference pairings that have been released. We're looking at conference seasons and we're talking about what that's going to look like, how it's going to happen. And you're seeing teams show up on campus. But you have to understand how far that is away from saying, yes, we are playing basketball in December. I mean, we are moons away from that. We have to look at how are we going to have these guys safely on campus without getting contaminated, either from the students or from other teams, as I've already said.
Or from going to restaurant.
You got Lou Williams in the NBA, and he's a professional athlete, and it's just going to happen that someone's going to break quarantine at some school somewhere.
The Marlins went to a bar in Atlanta. I'm assuming the Cardinals players did something equally stupid. Like,
who knows?
I mean, look. Oh, God damn it.
I mean, there's nothing that you can say about this season without saying coronavirus. Well, we don't know because coronavirus. And that is the state of things right now. And it stinks. It's annoying. It's a real drag. But, we just sit here and wait. And again, like I said, every day it looks like it's going to be a little bit worse and a little bit more unlikely, but, fingers crossed. I'm tired of talking about this, so I'm moving on. I'm so sick of this
Please.
conversation. The women's soccer team hired a new assistant head coach. Zach, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. She comes from West Virginia. Bree McCarthy, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
She was the graduate assistant at her alma mater, West Virginia, where they went 43-16-9. Yeah, she's got a nice resume as far as graduate assistants go.
Yeah.
She's from Ontario, Canada, which that'll make the Chap Daddy happy.
There
Played
you
for the
go.
Western New York Flash, and that was in the Women's Soccer League here in the United States, and then SC Sand in Frauen Bundesliga. I'm assuming that means Women's Bundesliga. Yeah, the West Virginia had an NCAA championship bid in each of her 4 years as she on the team. I think this is big time. You bring in someone with a big school pedigree, and somebody who can maybe help recruit that area of the country.
Yeah. It's
And Canada.
I think it's surprising to see movement on some of these sports teams fronts, especially a team that plays in the fall, because that's so uncertain right now.
Got to keep moving, man. You got to keep moving forward.
I get it. I get it. And that's why I just think it's a surprising. It was a surprising announcement to hear that, because again, I would expect everyone to just kind of be sitting in a holding pattern, have some practices, whatever. I mean, I guess.
And that is why we're not really great at a sport.
Well, I mean, I whatever. It's nice to see that there's movement. It's nice to see that there's improvement. I like how those both rhymed. That was nice.
And I like the idea of I like the idea of bringing in a Canadian who can, Canada is probably the third or fourth best women's soccer nation in the world, behind U.S., Brazil, Germany, maybe Sweden. I mean, so there's a lot of talent up in Canada, and I think we can tap into that to go along with the local talent that Katie Shields seems to have her thumb on.
Yeah, you've already you've surpassed my soccer knowledge here. I'm outside of my element. I don't know much about soccer. So there you have it. New women's assistant head coach for St. Louis University women's soccer. Let's talk about something that is about basketball, that is not about the thing that shall not be named for the rest of this podcast until we have to rename it at some point eventually, because we'll have to talk about it again. Let's talk about the Memphis home and home pairing, or series that has been announced, which I believe is this year. So it's 2020, 2021, and then 2021 and 2022. This year we're supposed to be at Memphis.
Yep, FedEx Forum right there on Beale Street.
Come down to Chaffetz.
Yep, my gut feeling is it's a 21. They'll push.
Yeah,
it.
I think this whole season is going to be pushed back. If they don't play this year, I think everything's going to remain the same, and they're just going to kick it back to 21, 22.
Exciting, absolutely exciting. It sounds like a hell of a trip to Memphis. We're gonna get to party with the Billiken.
Right. I mean, that's one of the more reasonable, I think, in-season road trips that we've seen. Right.
I did that on Christmas Eve to go see Willie Reed play down in Memphis with the Heat.
Wow.
It's easy. It's just quick.
There you go. I like this because this is a team that Memphis. I don't know that this is a fair comparison, but I look at Memphis and Mizzou in similar fashions insofar as the fact that they are always recognized as a major program. They're in the SEC, and so they are recognized as a major program, and they get the respect that SLU sometimes is snubbed on for being, Zach, close your ears here, cover your ears, a mid-major school. So what this could do is yearly give us a really good non-conference game that is likely going to be competitive. Now, I believe Penny Hardaway did just leave Memphis, if I'm not mistaken.
What?
I thought someone left or no, was it Mike Miller left Penny Hardaway at Memphis?
my
I might be
God.
wrong. I might be wrong on that. Fact check me, because your reaction makes me think that I'm very wrong here. But
no, I mean, I think he would get NCAA sanctions before he leaves Memphis.
well, then maybe it was Mike Miller.
He's still on Memphis.
Was Mike Miller the assistant head coach? Yeah. Someone just left Memphis. And clearly I thought it was Penny Hardaway, and I was dead wrong. I would like to figure this out.
He's still on Memphis. He ain't leaving Memphis.
Well, regardless, this is a really nice home-and-home series. Harkens back to the Conference USA days, the Billikens basketball. One thing that this, I guess, could implicate, it really doesn't implicate it, I guess. It just made me think of this. With the potential for this season to get canceled, I feel like 21-22 season has the potential for every single school in college basketball to load up their schedule more than they might normally do, to create more excitement for that season, to try to make up for some of the lost revenue from 2021 season that they missed. This could lead to some exciting non-conference matchups, if I'm right.
Yeah, 100%. It would, you got to bring in the best of the best to bring in the fans, pack the arena.
Yeah. I'm also very heartbroken while we're talking about non-conference, about the prospect of what I have to believe is the cancellation of the Thanksgiving tournament. The only thing, and it's probably the longest of the long shots that I could say here, is that they host the Thanksgiving tournament. Hear me out here. In the NBA bubble, they quarantine for 2 weeks before they play. They play the game in the bubble, and then they come home.
Join us,
and
back
that's how
on
they start the
Planet
season.
Earth,
That's how they start the season. Why not? You quarantine for 2 weeks. You test people you test players every day. All right. And then when you get through that 2-week quarantine period, you have a couple days to get yourself ready for the game. And that's how you start your season. You could get teams really good non-conference games right off the bat and bolster their schedule if it is a conference-only season. I think it's reasonable. Is it going to happen? Not a shot in hell, but I think it's reasonable. I think it makes a lot of sense, to be honest, if I do say so myself.
It's a hell of a fantasy.
Wow. Very supportive you are. Appreciate that. Conference pairings were released. Monday? I think it was Monday. Maybe.
It was released. What is today? I don't even know.
Friday.
It was yesterday.
Okay, I was way off on that. Great. Shows how engaged I am on this Friday afternoon. Conference pairings were released. The talk on Twitter when this came out was, I feel like, that SLU might have the hardest pairings out of anyone in the conference. Yep. Thoughts on that, Zach?
I mean, you're assuming that Massachusetts is actually good. You have to go to Richmond, which is
that's a big right hook you just threw right there out of the gate about UMass.
Yeah, I'm tired of UMass Twitter. They can kick rocks.
Would you care to?
No, they just think they're going to be great, just because they brought in some people. Like, you don't. But great.
Let's be honest about UMass though. This is a team that showed a lot of potential with young players last year. That if they continue on that same trajectory,
it's not going to be this year.
But I'm saying they could be.
Sure, they could be a little bit better. Sure. What
were they last season? 8, 9 in the conference, right? Not even that low. They were probably 6 or 7.
I mean, what does that get you? Nothing.
No, but they're going to be competitive, and I don't see why they wouldn't have a reason to talk a little bit about their team.
You got to go to LaSalle. That
Clearly, you
sucks.
didn't like that.
That sucks. Dayton, awesome, love it. Love the idea of going there and kicking their ass in their arena. And then you got to go make the dog sled trip to Olean.
Yeah, that's going to be thrilling, as it always is. My favorite place in the world to play.
Fordham, you got to go to Rose Hill, which is actually we should just have the bubble at Rose Hill because it's already sanitary. There's no fans
There
anyway.
you go. You could also go to Fordham.
No, you
Although I
can
guess
go to.
Fordham's in New York, so that's probably the
That's what
worst
I
place to
said.
go.
That's what I said.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Or you
clearly I
could
was paying
go.
attention. I'm trying to find the pairing schedule over here.
Or you
Obviously,
could
I'm
go to
learning days.
You go to VCU because they play in a cafeteria, so you've already got the food there.
Yeah.
No, you know.
Are you trying to come up with something funny about every school? Is that what's
Oh
going
yeah.
on?
Oh
Okay,
yeah. Oh
let's
yeah.
keep
Yeah.
going. What else you got for me?
Let's see. Uh, I got nothing else. I guess St. Bonaventure, you could do it there. It's pretty remote. There's no chance. I mean, but then again, those guys like to party, so that's like a COVID cesspool.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too healthy for us.
No.
I'm looking at the home schedule versus the away schedule right now. Davidson at home. If we don't beat them by 50, I will be disappointed. Dayton at home. This is a game we have to win.
Yes.
I mean, you know what? Let's really sit down and talk about this and just forget that there's anything else going on in the world for a second. In a world of blissful peace and happiness and joy, and basketball is guaranteed to be played. We're getting ready for the season. We're looking at the schedule, and these are the games that you have at home. We have Davidson, win or loss.
Win.
Dayton, win or loss.
Win, easy.
Duquesne, win or loss.
Should be an easy win. That's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Duquesne, I hate Duquesne. At least we don't have to go to Duquesne.
There you go. Yeah.
And I think the Billikens are out for revenge. I say win.
Okay. So right now we're 3-0. George Mason.
Roll over.
Okay. LaSalle.
Roll over.
We're at 5-0. Massachusetts.
Last place team in the A10. We kill them by 35.
Well, that's a little extreme to say that. We all know who the last place team in the A10. You can't say that.
I see us winning out at home.
Okay.
We don't lose at home.
Really? Well, I think the only team that really should scare me might be Richmond. I feel like the team Richmond we saw in St. Bonaventure last year at the end of the season was not the St. Bonaventure that had performed all year. But you've also seen Ashuni, have health issues, have injury issues, have problems staying on the court. So if he's not ready to go in a shortened season, or if he gets hurt at all, that's basically him done for the season, depending on where it happens and how severe the injury is.
Yeah.
I like our home slate. I mean, I feel like that's really – we should run through that pretty easily. Obviously, again, it's A10 conference basketball. There's always that one or two games where you're like, we should have won, and we didn't. We blew it, and that's frustrating. But knock on wood.
We got to do that Philly road trip again.
Yeah, the away schedule, we go to Dayton. We got Fordham, GW.
I don't like VCU on the road just because it's not fun.
I mean, VCU is a team right now that's pretty hobbled, though. I feel like
a
team that I have a decent amount of confidence against. You got Dayton, Fordham, GW, LaSalle, UMass again, Richmond. Richmond on the road might be tough, depending on. I think the Richmond home matchup is first. The Richmond away matchup is second. Might be wrong about that, but if we were to win at home, going to Richmond for the second game after having beaten the first time, I think that's a game that definitely would concern me. Now, we've talked about it before on the podcast. I think we talked about it with A10 Talk, if I'm not mistaken. Or not A10 Talk, 3-Bid League. SLU matches up
They're persona non grata for me.
Oh, really? Well, we'll get into that in a little bit. I'll ask you why about that in a second. I think Richmond is a team that a lot of people in the conference would say should scare us. But I feel like the matchup is so very different and yet beneficial for us in every single way. I don't see a way that Richmond beats us, honestly.
I think the worst matchup for us is Duquesne.
Yes, 100%. I think Duquesne is the only team that really – and Dayton's going to be competitive, and they're going to be good. I don't know that they're going to be – they're certainly not going to be what they were last year. That's an easy statement to make. Are they going to be the top of the conference? I think they have a chance to be up there. I think they have a chance to be very competitive in the conference, but I just don't know. Again, who really knows, given what's all transpired since the end of last season and going into this season. Dayton scares me a little bit. They make me a little nervous on the
they've
road,
added.
certainly.
They've added.
Yes,
I mean,
it's not like
empty
they just
arena.
lost Obi Toppin and then said this is the team we're going with without Obi and see what happens. I mean, they
It's
said,
empty arena.
yeah.
It's tough.
UMass, young team that beat us last year. I mean, certainly a tough game to win on the road at UMass. VCU doesn't really scare me as much. I don't know. Maybe I'm
We
just
kicked their
too.
ass so up and down the court. So I mean, it's tough
You'd
to
like to
see
think
them
we
as a
would win.
threat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd like to think we would win. So anything that you have that stands out to you about these conference pairings that you felt compelled to say, any school that you felt like was getting maybe an easier rub than others?
No, I don't. It's hard to say. I mean, there's so many variables and so many roster changes and
Yeah.
fluctuation. I think the team that has the most senior roster and the team that has the most players that have played together are the teams that are gonna come out on top. And that's why I'm low on UMass is, even if things are rosy, I don't see them gelling that early. They still got to wait on the two transfer. Or no, that's Rhode Island. Rhode
yeah.
Island and UMass, which a lot of A10 Twitter seems to be high on. I mean, there's
I don't feel the
so
same
much
way as most
turnover.
people do about Rhode Island.
I don't feel a certain way about anybody who has as high a turnover as both of those programs do.
I'm not worried about
Very
Rhode
much.
Island. UMass, I think, is a young, talented team that can beat you on any given night. Though I would say that we should still beat them both at home and on the road. I don't know. I mean, when you look at this conference this year, there's two teams right now that are upperclassmen laden, that has a core of guys that have played together, and that I think have to be assumed to be the two best teams in the conference. Richmond and SLU.
Nope. Well, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
They're senior laden.
I
Four
can't.
guys that have played together for a long time. They had good seasons last year. They've got to be the picks to be the two best teams in the conference.
Half the time I forget Duquesne and Richmond aren't the same school, but
Yeah.
I think SLU, Richmond, Duquesne. That's and then Dayton.
I think a lot of people would maybe say Dayton over Duquesne.
Yeah.
But Duquesne is a team that I think we give Duquesne more credit than they probably deserve, because we watched Duquesne just somehow beat us every single year. And
they're getting back they're getting back Michael Hughes, which he wasn't even there. He was injured last year.
Yeah,
if you remember. So
I mean, maybe we over credit Duquesne. I don't know.
I think we do.
We probably do. A little bit of paranoia on our part. Who knows? But SLU and Richmond are going to be the top two teams in the conference. I don't think there's any question in my mind about that. If that's not the case, it's going to require a dramatic blow up from one or the other or both. And I think, there's no reason, if basketball is played this year, that we shouldn't win this conference, and that we shouldn't run through the conference tournament should it happen. And that, if there is a Final Four tournament, I like our chances to make a deep run. I'm not going to go as far as Gary Parrish and say SLU's a Cinderella. But
that was probably
he's
for
not the only person that said that. If I remember, I think John Rothstein. I think he said SLU Cinderella team.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people making these picks right now, and the buzz is out there. And I don't think the buzz is anything to be nervous about either, because at the end of the day, this is the same team that we've been, watching come together. We've been watching perform. I think last year might have been maybe the most consistent year we've seen, barring the injuries that we saw, which every year there are going to be injuries, are going to be things you're going to have to react to. But for the frustrations with Travis Ford and some of the consistency issues under his tenure, and the fact that he's been working to rebuild a program, I think we've all agreed on this to a large extent. This is the most complete team we've seen under Travis Ford at St. Louis University. And this is a team that I would be shocked if we see anything less than a highly successful season should it happen.
Yeah, 100%. I am all in on this team right now. And I'm cautiously excited, obviously.
Let's take that cautious excitement and let's answer a question here real quick. Will we have basketball this year, Zach?
I don't want to answer that.
I mean, I think I've already kind of stated my answer.
This year, this
This
calendar
season,
year.
yeah, this season,
Oh, this season.
not this calendar year, and start conference play on January 1st.
I think yes, we will.
I'm gonna say no, and I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong.
I think
I might get fried on the message boards after this episode, just with people being angry.
you
about
get
me
fried
saying
on
that.
the message boards all the time.
I hardly post on the message boards. I've not really ever had anyone say anything to me ever. Yeah. Are you gonna start posting about me on the message boards now? Just start trash talking me. I appreciate it. What a co-host you are. And there's my phone. I apologize for that, folks, if you heard that. Actually, you shouldn't have heard that because I'm recording differently this evening. Shout out to Zoom, sponsor the podcast, please. Zoom. Speaking of
free Zoom.
Yeah. Speaking of sponsor the podcast, once again, shout out to our good friends over at Mortgage Partners Group for sponsoring the podcast. We appreciate their support as always. If you go over there, please mention our name. That really would help the podcast, especially right now. I don't know.
It's a good time in the industry, man. The mortgage industry. It's a buyer's market and a seller's market for them. Actually, it's not a buyer's market. I think it's a seller's market. I don't know.
Can I talk?
Yes.
The thing I think about when it comes to the future of not just basketball, but with this show, I was laughing about this the other night because I said to myself, which I guess the fact that I'm talking to myself is concerning, but I said to myself, Collin, I don't think you're going to get that media pass this year. I don't think you're going to be watching games like you were last year. So obviously that's not the only thing that's probably going to change. I'm sure there won't be maybe post-game press conferences the same way. I mean, even if we play basketball, do you think Travis Ford's going to sit down with the media? Do you think he's going to Zoom call with the media? Do you think we could get a Zoom call with the media?
Yes, I think we could 100% get in the Zoom call.
Oh, man.
I see no reason why we can't get in the Zoom call.
I'm looking for anything to be happy about. If you can tell, I'm literally scratching at the very depths of what I can find to be happy about. Boy, I hope we play basketball. Again, thank you to Mortgage Partners Group. Zach,
I'll tell you. Hold on. I
Yep.
got some good news.
Oh, okay.
Well, for now, it's good news, obviously. Former Billiken pitcher James Norwood.
I did see this.
Made the Cubs opening day roster. So congratulations to James.
Yeah.
Doing big things.
Stay safe, James.
Yes.
Getting scary out there for baseball players right now.
Yes. Stay in your hotel.
Bad time to be a Major League Baseball player right now. Yeah, that's exciting. It's when's the last Billiken to make the bigs? We need a producer like Jamie on Joe Rogan. We do need to just throw hey, look that up for me real quick.
Yeah.
Figure that out. Hey, Chaplin.
Yeah. Hey, West Pine.
There you go.
Gosh, when was the last big league? I think.
You know what? Let's put that out there, and we'll answer that on the next episode.
Yes.
Someone throw that out to us. What was
Kunderman,
the last?
answer it.
Hey, there you go, BK. What was the last Billiken to play baseball in the major leagues? That'd be an interesting answer to see when we get next time. I don't know when next time's going to be because I don't know how often we how much information is coming out right now. Not a whole lot. But fingers crossed that everything stays on the up and up, the positive path. Hopefully we get a chance to see basketball this year. Zach, do you have anything else to say on this episode before my rambling is cut off?
No, I just I apologize that it took a month to get you guys another podcast. It's like I said, it's tough to keep that.
I mean, if you couldn't tell this episode, it's kind of hard to not talk about the elephant in the room.
Yeah, you kind of want to avoid it at all costs, talking about it in real life. So, and if you come on the podcast, you have to. Yeah. So it's kind of one of those things that you're kind of almost, as much as we love Billiken basketball, you dread getting on here and talking about it.
Right. You know what? I do have one more thing for you because I remembered this, and this will be a little bit of positivity. I'll put the video clip up here as well for those of you that are watching on YouTube. How about Jimmy Bell's his dunk drill the other day? Did you see this on Twitter?
You know what? I saw that the video. I just never got around to watching it, which is
that was incredible. I was tired sitting on my couch watching it, as I'm sure many of us probably were that saw that from home. Jimmy Bell Jr., if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, not on Twitter, I'll help you out and give you the best visual description I can of this, or verbal description. I guess it's not visual description. Jimmy Bell Jr. essentially takes the ball, jumps up, touches the backboard, comes back down, goes back up immediately, dunks it, and he does it like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 times in a row. I'm probably exaggerating, but somewhere in there. It was nice to see. It was impressive, and honestly, it was just cool to see some Perkins content. Honestly.
Yeah, it's. I just watched it actually. It's impressive cardio.
Yes, and it shows just how good a shape he's in too.
Yes, he's in unbelievable shape. I believe I saw a picture of him running hills.
Yeah, that was when they were announcing that he dropped another like 30 pounds. Yeah. Kidding, it was probably like 10 or 20. But I mean, Jimmy Bell Jr. he's one of the most dedicated people on this team. He's a hard worker. He's
exactly a hell of a. By the way, I want to go out on the record and say this is a hell of a time to get in shape, guys. Take the opportunity if you have it. While there's not places to go and things to do. Take the time to get in shape, man. It's I on a personal note, I dropped. I don't know if I needed to drop 15 pounds, but I dropped 15 pounds. Hold up, stop the presses. Is that a man bun back there?
Indeed it is.
Oh my God, I quit. See you guys later.
Yeah, there you go.
Have a good one. No,
yep.
I don't know if I needed to drop 15 pounds, but I took this opportunity in quarantine and distancing to drop some weight and get in shape. So if you're thinking about it, don't wait any longer. Go ahead and do it because you've got time now. If you're not obviously having to commute to work and whatnot. So
yeah, and if you're like me and you don't want to do that, you can put on some weight like I have. I've put on.
Yeah, I actually sent what I lost to him.
Yeah, that is how that works. Right. Yeah. Between that and the hair on my head that I've refused to cut since probably like November or earlier, I've put on some weight. That's been unfortunate. But since we're making PSAs, Zach, I thought I'd go ahead and be that guy here. And let's not forget, folks, to wear those masks out there. Let's
okay. Hold on. I guess while we're at it,
PSA. I can't fit it on my face. Got to cover the nose there. I feel like now this is just turned into an instructional video on how to wear your masks. This is, again, you can't get away from it.
Are we doing this?
Yeah, you can't get away from it. You can't get away from it.
It's impossible. Well, we're signing off, guys.
Yeah, this is how we're closing out. Happy, I don't know. Happy Friday.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Or Sunday or whenever you're listening.
Yeah. Happy nothing. This stinks.